joining us for Juneteenth, Freeing the Shackles of Our Mind, a virtual celebration and wellness event. Before we begin the program, here's a brief message from our sponsors.
Lift every voice and sing.
Since I was 18, I wondered how I could become an active member of my community, and the summer of 2020 was my start. I attended many protests throughout Boulder County and Denver, which allowed me to find and create my voice. Then Ariana Nomir contacted me, a friend from high school, asking if I'd be interested in becoming a part of the Boulder County Collective, a youth-led organization with the intention of creating a truly equitable and inclusive community.
The County Collectives to me means three things: care, community, and the people. With the County Collectives, I believe we can begin to build the communities we want to see and the world we want to see. For me, that looks like a community that stands up against hate, a community that cares for all members in it and the environment that we share, a community that stands tall for justice, a community that is open to learning, growing, and healing, and I believe we can make that a reality.
I'm a pre-service music educator, and I'm passionate about creating creative opportunities for the community to come together and learn. I love to create experiences around visual arts, music, and movement where the community can learn together.
Showing young artists and young talents, how to register for their LLC independently, get their BMIs so that, they're copyrighted so that no one can take their stuff, and move forward from there, because there's so many people that are taken advantage of in the entertainment industry, and I would say specifically with marginalized groups and the BIPOC community and further.
Wellness Online seeks to provide information and community to benefit your mental, physical, and emotional well-being. Twice monthly, we host a wellness circle where we learn tools to combat anxiety and enrich our information diet. Connecting to a community is especially important during this time. Some of our events in the past have included soul sessions, yoga for self-esteem, and entertaining movie and game nights. For more information, sign up for our bi-monthly newsletter and join our Wellness Community Facebook group.
Hi. So I'm Shania, and I am a part of Wellness Online. I am a co-founder and the curator of Wellness Circles. I have been doing this for a while, and I'm currently a Chapman student studying political science with a minor in psychology. Today I'm going to kick off our panel on mental health and activism. We can react to pain and trauma by going within or going without. We can go within in ways that cultivate compassion or by withdrawing from life. Like ways, we can go outward in violence or in ways that try to rectify the original wound. In helping others, we provide what we needed but did not get. Activism or changing the world is very difficult. And when you care a lot about doing something that is difficult, you're likely to encounter frustration, disappointment, demoralization, all of which can have a harmful effect on your mental health. Living in a white supremacist, patriarchal consumer, capitalist culture is stressful to the body and mind. Because the very existence of such social systems depend on people being out of touch with their authentic feelings and needs, the wider culture, including close family members of many activists, either disapprove of activism or refuse to support it. And this social pressure and lack of support is emotionally draining. These and many more challenges lead individuals at risk of burnout. Today's first panel addresses mental health and activism. I'm joined with our first guest, Olivia.
Hi.
Olivia is a writer, journalist, and storyteller based out of Southern California. She's the co-host of Read the Damn Room, a cultural commentary podcast, facilitator for a Black literature book club, and of course, our esteemed co-founder of Wellness Online. Our next guest is Isaiah. Isaiah Smith is the youth director of arts for the County Collectives and an incredible musician. He helps to cross the bridge between music and business and create a safer professional space for BIPOC creators. After the event, be sure to check out his music on streaming platforms. The third panelist is Ariel. The flutist and educator Ariel Flack is a creative force devoted to weaving musical tapestries that bring beauty of storytelling to their communities. They are committed to pursuing interdisciplinary adventures with their creative peers. They aim to center queer and BIPOC voices and experiences through accessible and educational community art and events. Last, but certainly not least, our featured panelist, Pat. Pat is an incredibly motivated artist in the Orange County area. He is the founder of Access Inclusion Advancement, AIAP, is an organization that centers the lives of Black disabled queer folks that desire assistance and amplification of their voices. Thank you for joining us today, panelists. So, I have a question to ask all of you to start, and that is, where do mental health and social justice coincide?
I'll start just by saying that activism is a very the strenuous thing, and it takes a lot of energy. You know, even if you are not the most active activist, like you're not necessarily out here at events every weekend and actively, you know, working on a nonprofit or trying to make change every day in your community. It still is very, you know, strenuous, and it also brings a lot of conflicting topics to the forefront. So that's kind of just where I'll start.
I can go. Where do activists and mental health? I feel like it intersects in like so many aspects. For me, this is something I struggled with in the past, is like, I think sometimes as activists, we have a tendency to like pass judgment on people's like activeness within the community. And I think we have a responsibility to be more self-aware of the people around us. Not everybody 100% all the time has the mental capacity to take on activism. It is a very, very, very strenuous thing. But I also do think it's important to take risks and be cautious and realize that, again, like challenging your biases is a very challenging and strenuous thing. So it's important for us to like be open, but also be like self-aware of ourselves and the people around us. And yeah, I think like you can't take care of other people until you take care of yourself. So you're not useful if you're not able to like give to the movement in like the way that you can. So I think that that's also really important to recognize, is like mental health is such a vital part of how we move through the activist space in multiple different ways.
Yeah, I can jump in here. I would certainly second and agree with everything that Isaiah and Olivia both just said. I think that for me, activism and mental health cannot be separated. If we want to have the longevity of the work, then we need to be caring for ourselves and in turn caring for our communities. So it cannot ever be only an individual or only a community thing. We need both of these aspects in order to be able to continue doing activism work over the long term.
Pat, do you have something to add about that question?
Me?
Yes.
Yeah. I kind of answered it a different way though, because the way I thought the question was asked is the social justice. Where does social justice and mental intersect? And I think that a lot of times as Black people, there's a lot of stigma, even like we don't grow up with mental health teaching. So it's something that, for me, I'll just speak for myself. I'm in my late 20s, and I'm just now starting to learn more about mental health and taking care of just mental health words that I'm learning that I've never heard before. When it comes to mental health, and a lot of diagnoses that I've never heard of that I'm learning about now. So I think it intersects at a lot of places, like race and ability and finances, because somebody who is poor and disabled and transgender is gonna have to fight to make this world a better place for them, because it's not a good place for people like me and many other people who kind of have those intersections in our life experience. So I think that I just think that it intersects at a lot of places, and I think that sometimes people can be led to do something like this because of what they experience in life.
Thank you guys for sharing. Liv, I noticed that you said something about self-awareness, and I think that's something that comes up a lot for Black people right now during this time in Juneteenth. So with that being said, the question that I ask you is, how does one celebrate freedom, or at least acknowledgement of it? And is there a right way to do that?
Ooh, I thought about this question a lot, and I guess the short answer is no. I don't think that there is a right way to celebrate freedom. Maybe you're having a cookout in your backyard. Maybe you're with friends and family. Maybe you're taking time for yourself to regroup. I think in particular with Juneteenth, I see it as a day of rest. And because activism and being on all the time or most of the time is very, very difficult. So I think like just celebrating like even the small victories, I think just what we're doing today, having a conversation with lots of different faces and individuals and plenty of people that I've never met before. We're coming together to talk about something that's really important to us. I think that's a great way to celebrate Juneteenth, or freedom in general. I think, like I said, there's no really right way to go about like celebrating freedom. I think it's such a personal choice. So yeah, I hope everybody like picks themselves and chooses themselves today in whatever capacity that is.
Great. Okay. Back to the group. What are some things you all may have lost while being an activist, and how did you regain them back? Would anybody like to start?
I'll start if no one else has anything. Personally, for me, and I think this ties, just like Ed was saying, they really intersected just about every point. And I think we've all had some pretty heavy, like personal things go on, while also, trying to do good for the community and be there for the community. I've lost friends through my activism work, and it. That's trauma, and that's very traumatizing, and it really does kind of intersect and with a lot of different areas of that, you know what I mean? And it kind of, to piggyback off what Liv said, to me, Juneteenth is rest, you know what I mean? I don't think there is a right way either, and I think that also kind of directly relates to the self-awareness of it, and just being aware of like, what is going to bring you growth on this day? I do think that non-BIPOC folk do have a duty to, educate themselves during these times. But I think for me as a Black man, it's rest, and it's acknowledgement, and it's honestly just a lot of thinking and kind of reflecting on where I'm at, where we're at, acknowledging those little victories, and acknowledging how we can build off those and how we can build off them as well. So.
I think for me, it's kind of like something I've struggled with is those moments where I'm like, what's the point? Like it's exhausting. Feeling like you're in a space and things are moving at such a snail's pace, if at all. I think I've definitely been in moments and situations where I've literally said like to myself, what's the point of all this? And that can be very draining and exhausting. And, like it puts you it can put you in a really dark place. And so I think like the way that I was able to kind of crawl out of that is finding community and leaning on community for support when I get to those places. Because I think burnout is like, it's so easy to like lose your, I don't know, like ignorance is like, you know how they say like ignorance is bliss? Like once you like fall down this rabbit hole of like all of these problems, social problems and situations, it can be very difficult to not feel so like drained or like, when you're experiencing as like a Black queer woman, like that's so complicated. And when you see that the world kind of doesn't accept you for who you are, that can be very, very draining and challenging and kind of force you to be in the activist space sometimes, simply out of like protection for yourself. So for me, it was definitely like finding community and finding people who like are willing to like let me rest and let me take a break and just listen. So yeah, that's what I would say about like losing at least that factor when it comes to activism.
Can I add to that as well with the part you said about ignorance and the rabbit hole of problems? I kind of like, I can like definitely relate to that because just doing this work and finding, just finding things out for yourself kind of about, like when you're a kid, they're gonna sugarcoat stuff for you. They're not gonna tell you like, oh, there's monsters out there or whatever, but there are. And the older you get, the more you find out that the monsters are more psychological than anything. And I think that's the scariest part about it, because we as Black people have to battle these traumas, and the trauma is like running through our bloodlines, and it's been unresolved for generations, and it's kind of wreaking havoc in our communities. There's a massive femicide going on of Black women right now, and I don't understand what's going on when we just had the summer that we did in 2020. So something in the milk ain't clean, and something's in the water, and I just wonder how we can as a community be able to talk to each other about these things. I think about that all the time, and I'm still, it's a question on my mind. So the thing that was definitely the ignorance part of like pretending that it's okay.
Yeah. I'll jump in really quick here, unless Liv wanted to respond. This is really short, but as a white American, I think something that we have to lose to be able to do this work is our whiteness. We have to constantly choose to lose our whiteness consistently and over, and then not gain it back. So for me, that's something that I think allyship requires, is to show up and choose against your white privilege, against your whiteness, and just humble yourself to other ways of knowing and being and doing and learning. So I would just throw that out there, that I think is a requirement of white allies, to consistently choose to lose our whiteness in these spaces.
I think it's so interesting you said that. So I run a Black literature book club. Anybody can join. I have lots of white friends who are in it. And one of my white friends specifically, I remember her saying, like, it's way easier for me to become a Karen than to like challenge my biases on a regular basis. And like thinking about that is so true. I think like also to speak to Pat's point about like generational trauma, like that's like a whole nother like can of worms. You're like literally carrying like the pain of your ancestors, which is like scientifically and statistically proven. And so to be carrying that weight, I do think like my white friends and white allies and accomplices have like a responsibility to kind of hold me up and hold me down, and do the work when I can't do the work. So I think that that's anyway, I'm just glad you really brought that up because it reminded me of that. Like, I've never forgotten that she said that. It was just like a very specific moment.
You guys made a lot of very interesting connections just now. I have one question to direct towards Isaiah. Where does healthcare and racism intersect, and where do they contrast?
Well, personally, to me, I think that where they intersect is really within the system, like everything, and kind of, what Pat was saying is it's all really systematically built to be this way. And that's hard to remember when you're working hard on these things and when you're tired as well from working hard on these things. And they're affecting your mental health. And I think for me, one of the main parts that I try to let my white allies in on and other people in on that they might not recognize either, is that you think white communities don't necessarily talk about mental health. At least they're mentioned. You know what I'm saying? And I think over the past 5 to 10 years in the Black community, some mental health is starting to, kind of come to the forefront and be talked about. But for me, and what I've always seen is like hip hop and our art is what has always been where we express it. And I think that's kind of where they intersect, is that we haven't necessarily had the privilege of being educated on what is the appropriate way to take care of our mental health. A lot of us don't know how to talk about it at all, and especially this aspect of it, and the awareness of who you are and what you want to be as well. I think so. It intersects at so many points that it's hard for me to even really find a contrast, because there's so many. I don't think anyone truly could understand the system at the highest level, because it's been worked on and built for so long. So it's hard for me to even find something that contrasts the two, because they really intersect everywhere. Like I said earlier, you couldn't really find an area in the Black community, I feel like, that mental health isn't really ignored. Like it's ignored at a very high level, and it's not even because we want to ignore it, I would say. It's a lack of being given the ability to acknowledge it, and it's frustrating. And I think that's another aspect of where it where it's harmful and hard to understand. Just like Pat said, it's how it's hard to understand how more and more things keep getting piled on after the summer we just had, and it's completely hard to understand, and it's because it's a system that wasn't meant to be understood by us. And I think that that's my piece on it. It's a good question.
Thank you. Pat, I noticed that your organization is a very significant part of your life. So I would like to know, how does your background and identity influence your activism and mental health?
Yeah, so I'm a person. I live with a physical disability, as well as a lot of mental illness that that like I mentioned earlier, unresolved, and it piles on. So I started AIAP because I needed something to keep me alive, to be honest. because I was in a dark place. I didn't know what to do, and I didn't know if I was gonna be here anymore. So it was something that I had to pick up, and we had one event last year, and it was really great. We had a band come out and play. They're from LA. Yeah, they're called the name. There's a cuss word in the name. It's "You Guys Suck Really Hard. Shut the fuck up." Thanks. That's what the band is called. So if you want to look it up, um, it was like a punk rock band. There are also people who are disabled, black people with disabilities, and I just wanted to represent for them. So I had them come and play, and then I also hired a DJ who was somebody who was black with a disability. I tried to make sure that I was hiring people at my event who I wanted to, the demographic that I was trying to reach out to. So we had that, and it was really great. I hope to have another event soon. Yeah, and my organization is just, it's very young in its stages, and we don't have a lot of money because I'm really like funding it myself. And right now I'm looking for work, and it's been kind of hard trying to find a job. I have a physical disability, so I know I'll get a job though soon, and I'll be able to fund my project, and I really want to be able to do outreach work. Get people help if they wanna get disability, get them approved. Because the government makes it really hard for us to get approved. I was denied 3 times. There's a lot of things. People need access to careers. People need access to housing, and these are things that people's needs are going unmet because our government does not want to put in the effort that it takes to be able to actually, you know, improve the lives of people with disabilities. And I think that I honestly think that the movement is completely is not going to move at all if we don't have everybody helping everybody else to move. We can't just leave one group of people because maybe they can't walk, or maybe they can't run, or maybe they can't run very fast, or maybe they can't, scream at the top of their lungs, maybe they can't hear, maybe they can't see. There's a lot of things. And I really do believe that the black community, that there are people who, especially like the women in the black community, they're more aware of because they work in as nurses in healthcare fields, in nursing homes. They might work with taking care of like disabled people in their homes. I know my younger sister had a nursing job for an amount of years. So what I'm trying to say is I believe that our community can like come around and be able to include and give access to each other, because if we see that the government's not going to do it, then like that's why I made AIAP for. And you know I'm hoping that I can purchase a vehicle soon and get some outreach work done, and just be able to like go to people individually and say like, hey, what do you need? Whether it's they want to get a job, whether it's they want to get disability, you know. Um, and people should be believed. If they say they have a disability, they should be believed. It shouldn't have to be, oh, you have to prove to me this and that and the third, making it really hard for people who actually needed to get it. And I also really want for disabled people to have access to wealth so they can pass it down to their children, because disabled people have children, and there's no reason why. Because I see people saying like, oh, why would you have a child if you have a disability? Well, that's just ignorance. People are going to have children. That's why we're all here. That's why the earth is here to hold us, because we're existing. I know I said a lot. But yeah, I hope that I can get some help, and with funding, my projects, if anybody knows anybody who can help me with getting funding, or help me with getting 501 or anything, that would really help me. I linked the Cash App for my the Cash App and the Venmo for my organization at the bottom. If anybody is watching this and willing to donate, I would really appreciate it. And thank you so much for giving me this time to speak about my organization.
Thank you for sharing. That was very insightful and informational. Everybody, please make sure you take down that information and help spread the word. Ariel, I want to get to you for a second because you said something about losing whiteness a little bit earlier, and that kind of connects back to this question that I had for you, which is what role does allyship play in breaking down barriers for Black mental health?
Yeah, so I've been thinking about this question a lot and thinking about how for white people, if we want to be allies in Black mental health work and, you know, helping connect our community members with the resources and tools that are needed, it does require that we relinquish whiteness, relinquish this individuality that white, you know, Anglo patriarchal values has instilled in us. And we need to be able to champion Black ways of knowing and learning and of wellness. And we need to be able to just get behind and support. So, you know, what does it mean to show up and listen, not with a desire to like be, you know, not to claim the space as our own, but to say, I am here to use my power that I have, that society has given me unmerited, to support the work that you're saying needs to happen. And, you know, seeing Black mental health as a necessity for our community health and our social health. We cannot see ourselves as individuals. You know, when we're going and taking care of our mental health as white people, does that only benefit us? Or do we then take those tools and help connect others with them? Do we come at it from an individual, selfish perspective, or do we come at it from a community perspective where we see ourselves as members of a team that's able to help uplift our sisters and brothers with and siblings with the tools and the access that we've been given as white people simply for being born white. So I think just consistently centering Blackness, listening to our BIPOC and especially queer and trans disabled Black friends is going to help us have a touchstone to come back to anytime that we're engaging with mental health. It's not just about us. It cannot center the individual. We need to see this as we are part of a bigger goal, and that goal needs to center Black voices. And I think in Pride Month, especially, I'm thinking about Marsha P. Johnson and Black trans women being the reason that I can be here and be out. And anytime that I'm going and unpacking all of my trauma, the reason I'm able to do that is because they were fighting for me, you know? So just constantly having that in the back of our minds and never having it center ourselves as white people or our whiteness, because everyone else is doing that for us, you know? So we have to leave that, move away from that.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. That was very honest. So our last wrap-up question is about looking ahead. And so I want to know, how has your work as an activist and your focus on mental health prepared you for the future? And I'm going to have Liv start that question off for us.
Can you repeat the question?
Of course. How has your work as an activist and your focus on mental health prepared you for the future?
So I just feel like having the opportunity to take care of my mental health just has allowed me to be more present in spaces. I think while I was in school, like, for example, I was really, really active in the activism space. I was like a part of the Black Student Union. When I was like working for the paper, I was like the only Black person on the student newspaper. And I kind of had the responsibility to be like, don't do this. It's like fucking racist, or, you know, this is problematic and you should. I feel like I was always very proactive. I was, just in a lot of spaces where I felt like I had a responsibility to teach and take care of other people. And I ended up taking a semester off. because it all just became like too much, like very much so like overload. And so allowing myself like that space to rest and to be in touch with therapists and psychiatrists and being with loved ones put me in a space where I feel like I much so can be way more present in spaces, and also understanding those moments where I have to back away from this for a little while. Like I love the work that I'm doing. I feel a moral responsibility for the work that I'm doing. But right now, I'm not in a place where I can, take care of other people. But I'll see y'all in a week or 2 weeks. Like I plan on like getting back on this, of course. And I also just wanted to mention, not all Black people have access to some of the things I had access to in order to take care of myself. There are lots of Black people who don't have access to therapy or psychiatrists or medical professionals to be able to take care of yourself, and so I think that definitely contributes to the stigma within the Black community, because like so many people just don't have access to healthcare, very like needed healthcare. So yeah, I think that showing up, knowing how to take care of my mental health has given me the opportunity to show up more often than not, and not reach a point of burnout where I have to take months off or, completely step away. I also think like understanding, and I brought this up at the very beginning, like working in your own capacity. For example, like during the George Floyd protests, I had a lot of like physical disability things kind of pop up at the time, and I wasn't able to really be on the ground. But I was able to kind of like be that behind the scenes person and reading all the literature and showing up in just different ways. I think that that's mental health. Taking care of your mental health has allowed me to show up more often than not.
You want to maybe share something with us, Isaiah?
Yeah, so for me, actually, like pretty similar to Liv on that forefront. Like it's really taught me to kind of like be there for myself a little bit more as well, if that makes sense. I think honestly, like all BIPOC folk have really kind of had that moment through these times where it's like, all right, I need to be there for myself, and that's gonna look like whatever I want it to look like, really. I think that's important. Another thing that I think it's just really taught me for the future, and I think that I really just try to apply to everything, is just to listen, and listen to others at the highest level I can. And not always. I like to talk. Anyone who like genuinely knows me knows that I very much so like to talk. I'm a writer, so that's a lot of who I am. And I think doing this work has really taught me to listen further, and really kind of be more transparent. I think like transparency has been something that it has been just like really kind of growing within me through a lot of this, and a part of that is that I am half white, and so that side of the family, and kind of with everything going on, I've dealt with a lot of anger towards their ignorance and stuff like that, and I approach those situations. I'd say 2 years ago I would approach those situations with anger first, as opposed to transparency. And I think that this work has allowed me to, generally put myself in more of like a listening position before I speak. You know what I mean? And I think that that's been really, really, just really like empowering for myself. But I think that it's also something that like has been empowering for the community. Like, I feel like it's not just me. I feel like that's something that, you know, the community has been learning to do more on all levels. And I think that, you know, we have a lot of work to do, obviously, like definitely more than less. But what it's taught me is to, you know, just really be transparent with everyone, as well as myself, and just really like see myself and like the highest level that I possibly can. And you know, that's been super lovely. So yeah.
Anybody else like to add something? Pat, did you?
What was the question? Oh,
How has your work as an activist and your focus on mental health prepared you for your future?
oh yeah. Prepare me for my future. I guess it just told me what I want to do, and you know, if I feel like the only way I can have a future is if I do this, because right now the future that is there for me, I don't like what I see. So I guess it just kind of showed me.
Anybody else want to share before we wrap things up?
I want to say one last thing. I just want to give a shout out to all the trans women, and you know, the trans women that are out there fighting right now, and also the trans men that are you know, just transitioning and just living. All people who don't identify with whatever cisgender is. I just want to give them a shout out, and just like loving vibes for the rest of the year. Yeah, that's it.
Dope. All right. It's been great having all of you guys. Thank you for coming here, being honest and transparent, and giving up some time of your day to help celebrate Juneteenth and inform people. So next we have our musical guests, Eyes and Kat Evans. Bye, guys.
Hello, 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 hello.
Hello.
I go by Eyes.
I'm Kat.
Right on. Let's do this thing.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, I said flow, something spiritual from the heart for the soul. Moments lost, stories never told. Cars climb, pikes peaking, something fishy. Gotta hold my nose to keep breathing. Oh, you bad, put you super quick to fold. Flip the big to cigarette and sit alone. Legs hanging on the edge, contemplating, leaning toward peace. I've been fiending for. Fuck you preaching for, huh? You lose like the leaf, I tear to pieces as I scream for more. Chicken on the balance beam, Jimmy Locks trading beans. Jimmy Johns need a cheese, extra meat, hella grease, beast mode. Hulk Hogan toward the finish line you can't afford.
Yeah. And I done seen a lot of evils going rise, and I hope they fall.
They fall, they fall, they fall,
they fall,
they fall, they fall. They fall.
And I know this glow makes Pope out of spirit. I get it, we forgetting the vision, but it takes us all.
Hustle, hustle, hustle,
yeah. Us all.
Hustle, hustle, hustle.
Collect your will to fight, and let it burn for life.
For life.
Collect your will to fight,
to fight,
to fight,
to fight.
Collect your will to fight, and let it burn for life.
For life.
Collect your will to fight,
to fight, to fight.
My conscious formulate, form a wave that make you think I'm one with the ocean. Holding and trying to pose and finna go kick it with Oten. I know it feels hopeless when that stress overloading, bubbling potion, putting cauldron. I always wanted to be the alternative to losing focus, so people don't fold and hide behind egos for protection. I preach ascension, it was a blessing for this session. Express my massive affection for keeping the spirit present. I stargaze when the sun fades. My connection with outer space is strange. It's the questions that I ask that be the themes to my soul. Breather, bring it entity back to its home. That's the mind's eye where God resides on his throne. You meditate, I cheer you on till the fear is gone. It's a war with wars. I burn up, I blur the stupid verb. I'ma keep it up till my skin merge with the earth. Yeah. And I done seen a lot of evils going rise, and I hope they fall.
They fall. They fall.
They fall.
They fall. They fall. They fall.
And I know this glow makes Pope out of spirit. I get it, we forgetting the vision, but it takes us all.
Us all.
Yeah. Collect your will to fight and let it burn for life. Collect your will to fight. Collect your will to fight and let it burn for life. Collect your will to fight. Hey, Kat, whose world is it?
It's yours.
It's mine.
It's mine. It's mine and yours.
It's yours and mine.
And yours.
It's y'all's world. It's everybody's world.
It's our world.
Power's in your hands. But I'm gonna let Kat talk a little bit more on that.
Yeah.
Say, whose world is this?
The world is yours. Yes, go say word is mine.
What?
Word is yours, word is mine. Tell you word is mine. They be lying to you. Word is mine. Word is yours, word is mine. Tell you word is mine. They be lying to you. Word is mine. Yeah, I said it and I meant it since the age of 5. I've been battling my sentence, I am so alive. Ain't no slave, there no conditions, lived all sorts of lives. It's sort of saying there ain't no difference, so I move like a fox through this box. We all start and choose what to love, what to block, what to fall. And she the baddest bitch in the room, watch me lock. And shorty say my name like she afraid that I forgot. Here go, girl. Go, 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 said go, girl. Go, 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 said go, girl. Go, 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 said go, girl. Go, 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 go. Never trust a bitch, never trust a dude. Word is built on lies, only thing that's true. Never trust a bitch, never trust a dude. Word is built on lies, only thing that's true. Say go, girl. Go, 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 go. 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 Say word is mine. Word is yours. Word is mine. Tell you word is bond. They be lying to you. Word is mine. Word is yours. Word is mine. Tell you word is bond. They be lying
to you.
Keep it low key, baby. No one need the road. Ride the beauty, ride the beat. Keep it real, no pose. She an angel in the streets, real demon on the road. See the fire in the eyes, make the vibe lose control. Back like I'm bored with the bullshit. Hard in the paint, cause my canvas exploded. Dummy like mannequins, fake I expose them. Thoughts that they cross, I just go off and throw them. You dig, you do, word is mine. Word is yours, word is mine. Tell you word is bond.
They be lying to you. Word is bond.
Word is yours, word is mine. Tell you word is mine. They be lying to you. Word is mine. Word is yours, word is mine. Tell you word is mine. They be lying to you. Word is mine. Word is yours, word is mine. Tell you word is mine. They be lying to you. High in the sky like the drones that be spotted, yeah. Ingredients, deviant,
yeah.
Hi, hello. High in the sky. Jones that be sky, yeah. Ingredients, yeah. Deviant, stunting, yeah. Looking for the smoke, man. High in the.
Thank you. That's called Word Is Mine, Kat Evans. This next song is called What They Couldn't See, because that's what they can't see, right? So that's what the hook is. What they couldn't see, ayy. Yeah. I said what they couldn't see, ayy. Yeah. Look, what they couldn't see, ayy. Yeah. What they wanna be, ayy. Check me out. Look, I start up the chopper and get the knocking on the door. Politicians, black, righteous war. I'm a getting golly mass landing on this land. And I wear the mask of the murdering man when I'm conversating with pathetic nation. Underneath the skin is coral reef. Man, my soul is vibrant. I can scar your wireless. Form a tyrant. I'm the son combined. Homeless life. Some inside a physical body. Your bone and iron. Home of knowledge. Done the book of Gnostics. It's your dreaded scholar. I'm the Moorish prophet in my Cody Bonics. Speak a Thor, sword, car fails. Sin, love for Cupid, die, Gerald's. Let me see the truth. Finna bird box it. Yeah, 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 yeah. Said what they couldn't see, ayy. You can say it with me at home if you got it. Look, what they couldn't see, ayy. Yeah. What they wanna be, cause they couldn't see. They can't understand without a glance. It's just a chance from your man. I said, damn. I hope that shit got you charged up. I think I'm feeling the energy too much.
Yeah.
Got me all muffled. You know?
Upon my enemies, because
You try?
I won't.
Okay.
I won't.
I won't.
I won't. May God have mercy upon my enemies, because I
won't.
You ain't really shit unless you with the shit. Bitch, up my. I could go all night. Charged up. Walk plug, I'm 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 charged.
Charge.
In the green, swing away. I ain't come to play my. Do some cray, try me on the wrong day. Try me on the wrong day. Never been scared of the wrong way. Shorty a diamond, she on day. I take what's mine, then I'm gon' flex. Anything dope that I want, press. All of these haters, I'm up elevator. I don't need no paper to show what I'm making. I'm trusting the. You heard me, unable to say that the weight of the word I'm up there. Yeah, see how I do it like that? Yeah, yo, bitch, she pulling and that. Yeah. You ain't really shit, let's you with this shit. Bitch, up my. I could go all night. Charged up. Walk plug, I'm 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 charged.
Yeah. And fully giving it. Man, fuck. I don't know, but I goofed up, so here it is. Going off the top of lift and sitting in my own crib. It's only probably about to be what it needs to be. It's like 100 degrees in Denver City. But see, there's no pity on the black skin, and I can't fumble with a pen. So here it is, just off the top of head. And it's Craig and Cat, you better flip that and keep it in your mindset like an acrobat. I keep it good and shoot. I'm feeling hella good.
You ain't really shit unless you with this shit. Bitch, suck my. I could go all night. Charged up. Walk plug, I'm 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 charged.
Jeez.
Off the dome, Craig, the freestyle master.
Oh man, freestyles. But this one's serious though. Yeah. I got some missing screws. Don't ask about me, what about you? Look at jewelry, it's black gold, nigga. I've been on the same damn road, feel me? Don't ask me nothing about myself, look. I've been on this road for all the time, and I'm in the front. Man, my story journey's long. I don't know where to start. All I know is I got hard. I'm sorta like warriors in the dark, approaching threats with a knife. Why do I feel like I'm dangling in front of judging eyes? Battling Uncle Sam, cut his motherfucking ass butt naked and leave him leaking. Cops arrived at scene, now dip unseen of views that scenic. Leave up from the silent album people. Leave a miracle for this silent album people. Taking Afrocentric influence for a massive movement. Cause life is a Rubik's and this illusion. These dudes got me fucked up. Visions, who is who? Bending, time is bending. What's the truth? Visions, talking visions, who is who? Bending, time is bending. What's the truth? Visions, talking visions, who is who? Bending, time is bending. What's the truth? Visions, talking visions. Who is who? Bending, time is bending. What's the truth? Leave. Jesus. I'm gonna go ahead and pause it there. I feel like that's 10 minutes, or maybe not. Maybe that was over 10 minutes. So that was our set. Um, yes. Again, I go by Eyes. You
I'm
can,
Kat Evans.
yeah, you can find my
We work
site.
together a lot.
Yeah, we do. And
Thanks
you
for
can find
having
more
us.
work later and follow us at the description below at right there eyes.co and at Cat Evans, right? And we should do a little
Yes.
Venmo in there too by good grace. Yeah, I love it. Thank you, wellness. I love this opportunity and everything. Happy Juneteenth to everybody watching. Peace and love and respect. You have anything to say?
Do we just like sign out?
Yeah, I don't know.
All right, on charge up. Hey, thank you so much, Kat Evans and IS for performing. I also just quickly want to announce our moderator, Shania Verse, at our last panel got a bee sting mid-panel, moved inside. And if that doesn't explain the resilience of Black women on this Juneteenth, I don't know what the hell does. So thank you, everybody. Yes, cash out, if you want to throw a little something my way. My name is Ariana Nomir, and I will be performing some of my poetry for y'all today. Everything that I have written is basically for you to walk through my experience from beginning to end this last year and some change. All of my poetry that I will be giving you should inspire you to heal, should inspire you to uplift your communities and really step into your own purpose. And please stick around because we have some yoga and meditation as well. We also have a radical care panel that I'll be moderating right after this. So we still have a couple great events for you all today. My name is Ariana Nomir, daughter of Ermine Nomir, daughter of Therese Pumajo, daughter of Ampu Libertine, daughter of Pauline Apiotaka, daughter of Aye. I want your suffering because freedom isn't enough. I want your struggle because you won't let me be equal. I want your hardship, a Black person taking your spot at university because my hardship were my ancestors across the Atlantic in a slave ship. That's the hardest shit, and that's some fucked up shit. I want your triggers. A light-skinned nigga kneeling during a game where dark-skinned niggas are concussed. I want your pain. Your reason for rioting being your team just won a game. I want your collective sorrow. I want your financial strife, having to decide between a luxury home and a Tesla. I want your collective sorrow. I want the anxiety that gets your blood pumping when you are walking towards a mysterious, dangerous looking individual and not running away from. I want your collective sorrow. I want your PTSD, the one you gain from years of war, only to return home a hero, a veteran. I don't want your privilege. I don't want your money. I don't want your material items. I don't want your gentrified neighborhoods. I don't want your gas-guzzling cars. I don't want your sons or your daughters. I don't want your schools. They're fucking up my mind. I don't want your businesses. I don't want your work ethic. I want the type of life where I can walk outside and my main concern is a sunburn and not the burn of a bullet wound. This next one is called Rock Bottom, as we are interrupted by LAPD's helicopters. Reminds me so much of last summer, having them fly around cities during protests. So thank you for that timing, but excuse me, I'm performing. Rock bottom. What's lower than rock bottom? Overheating, beads of sweat melting the melanin right off. I can't tell if the increase in temperature is from the Earth's core I have dug myself into or the immense pressure I feel from my dreams. Will I disintegrate? Or will my atoms fuse and transform into a diamond? What's lower than rock bottom? There's a special skill in feeling this low, giving my all to a vision and still finding another chunk of hope to throw up a 100-story building. Fucking hell, can someone just catch it? Because I'm getting sick and tired of the continuous splat of my inner desires. My heart, mind, body, and soul was never meant to look like Nickelodeon. What's lower than rock bottom? When an opportunity arises, but it's not enough to lift you out of the ocean, you keep sinking in. Breathe, breathe. There's no oxygen at rock bottom. Even if someone tossed me a tank full of that flammable air, what I need is a rope to get a fuck up out of there. What's lower than rock bottom? Giving up. This one is called Divine Balance. When I am having trouble balancing my divine feminine with my divine masculine, my divine imagination with my divine builder, when I have lost all who I am under the rubble of past internal wars, I take 2 baths. One to cleanse my spirit, one to cleanse the negativity from my physical body. 1. I sit in my temporary sorrows. I bask in thoughts of pain. With my last drop of fight, I play music of high frequencies. Solfeggio, Tibetan singing bowls, jazz, if you know what I mean. I sing, I call my mother, I call my grandmother, I call my friends. Their voices resonate with my heart. I go outside, I walk beneath the sun, along a river, amongst an ocean. I drink tea. I eat the creations of the earth. I cook for others. I move my body, yoga in the living room, twerking in the kitchen. You know, balance. I look myself in the mirror, and when I love the person staring back at me, I know my spirit is ready. 2. When I have dropped my reason for fighting for a reason to live, I fill my tub with hot water, spearmint bubble bath, essential oils, bath bomb. 1 whole slice orange, 1 whole slice lemon, half a cucumber. I shred and squeeze the protection of ginger in my personal pond. I plop in a stick of cinnamon for spice. I smudge the bathroom. I honor my ancestors. I sip water and kombucha as I soak. I speak to my womb. How are you feeling today? I cleanse my body with Asepso. I scrub with Himalayan salt. I finish with a moment of gratitude. This next one is called Untitled, but Important. Your ancestors worked in the fields, day in, day out. Your grandmother scrubbed toilets, chemicals in, chemicals out. Your mother slept under her desk, sunrise, sunset. The rest available to you is their manifestation seen. Only when the moon showed its face, only when their lids blind their eyes. Honor the rest given to you by letting go of the guilt. The poem that I am at today on this beautiful Jubilee Juneteenth is the next poem, I Am No Longer Concerned. I am no longer concerned with fighting the enemy. My mission objective has shifted, so my community can be lifted. So much fear, not enough faith.
So much hurt, not enough healing. So much anger, not enough acceptance. My place may not be the front lines with a megaphone anymore, but a space I defend, so when night falls, you have a home to explore. I can no longer scroll through the videos, and we all know those. But I can be sure you are cleansed with ginger and rose. Though the world is putting pressure on your body to fit in a box, I'll be sure there's a place for you to rock your locks. Word to Isaiah. Yes, my work is important. To prevent the generational curses we inflict on ourselves, bottling up every emotion and storing it on warehouse shelves. So we heal, so we cry, so we laugh, okay? So we reflect, we connect. I am no longer concerned with fighting the enemy. They are not my gatekeepers to be free. Every poem that I have written for you all, or that I have recited for you all rather, will be in a publication in a few months. So please tap into my Instagram, my website to stay informed about when my first book of poetry will be live. But in the meantime, please watch a short video of mine about me stepping into my ideal self. And this is titled 24. Kaylani, please play.
There's a side of me I'm getting to know. He's strong and my protector. There's a side of me who always wants to show, so pull up for the lecture. There was a time when I was lost, floating in space I couldn't breathe, unable to recognize I was a star. I lost myself inside myself. I drowned my soul in rivers of tequila. I judged others harshly, but only by a fraction of the sentence I gave myself. Guilty, guilty, guilty. Until I stopped ignoring that little voice in my head, the one that always pops in right before bed. I listened, I learned. Divine feminine, divine masculine, the power you have. And you don't even know it, the power you have. 24/7 is the time to show it. There's a hunger in my belly. It keeps me awake at night. There's a purpose in my soul. It keeps me away from fright. There's a blessing from above, it keeps me tuned with dark and night. That's my current frequency. Balanced, Ishel, and Ni.
All right, after a quick little change, y'all. These poems came from a deep interest in prioritizing my identities, my healing, and self-care. That's why I am so excited to first turn off my iPad. Okay. That's why I'm so excited to introduce this next panel, Radical Care Healing is a Revolution. So stay, in touch, informed, because at the end, towards the end of the panel, we will have a Q&A section for anyone who would like to ask our 3 healthcare professionals about their profession, how to get more assistance, etc. So first up, we have the lovely Alice, who is a Colorado native with Black, Latino, hey Alice, and Native American roots. Her private practice is currently located in Denver, Colorado, where she specializes in treating anxiety, depression, family conflict, and behavioral disturbances. She recognizes herself as an agent of change by supporting others in emotional healing. I love that, agent of change. Mm-hmm. Next, we have Colette. Colette is a licensed marriage family therapist located in Folsom, California, with over 20 years of experience in behavioral health. Her work ranges from working with patients with challenging behaviors, toxic relationships, or managing complex emotions. She specializes in fleshing out negative thought patterns that keep us stuck in emotional vortexes by using traditional as well as holistic therapeutic approaches. Hey, Colette.
Hey.
Next, we have Kayla. Kayla grew up in Boulder, Colorado, 303, and where she was introduced to Reiki at 16 years old. From then, she honed in on her skills, becoming a Reiki master practitioner at only 18. As an advocate for using Reiki as an accessible essential healing modality, she has traveled all over the country, offering hands-on as well as distance healing. Thank y'all for being here. I'm so excited to get us started. My first question is just what initially inspired to get all of you in your specific field?
I'll go first. Quite frankly, it was because I wanted to be a teacher. And as I sat around with the interview with I was the only Black woman in the room, other young white women, and I was turned down. And so I searched in my school to see what graduate program was open, and it was psychology in terms of therapy, and I just think it was the universe that was talking to me. So I didn't go into the field to heal others or to heal myself. The universe pushed me there because I wanted to be a teacher.
Oh, thank you, universe. Alice, would you like to go next?
Sure. Yeah, so what really inspired me is just my grandmother being my role model, and she was always helping individuals. She used to put on dinners for the homeless during Christmas time, and so she really was an advocate. And then also, I would say just kind of my own past history of adversity during childhood, adolescence, and just wanting to help others and be that agent of change. And then also what really also inspired me to kind of step into my Black heritage was sophomore year of college at Regis University. I went on a service learning trip. So we pretty much fundraised money for probably about 6 months or so, maybe if not more, to fundraise money to send to a community in Ghana so they can build a library at an all-girls school. And so when we got there, it was just amazing just to see the community and how they came together to build this library and just the passion these girls had for learning. And then, when I was there was this Adinkra symbol. I don't know if you're familiar with Adinkra symbols. Yeah, so the symbols in Ghana. And so the one that stood out to me was called Hai Wanai. And so it means so pretty much walking through fire. So I kind of just saw like, wow, this adversity, transformation. So just the ability to literally walk through fire, come out with a resilient mind. So that was what really inspired me.
And Kaylin, what inspired you to get into Reiki at 16?
I actually was going through a hard time, struggling with drug and alcohol addiction and losing friends to drug and alcohol addiction. And my Reiki teacher actually reached out to me at Natural Highs, a program after school that would give kids a different option to drugs and alcohol. And she said I really needed to be a part of this, and she put me on scholarship through all of the classes, and it really called to me prior because I was dating a master practitioner. So it just all kind of fell into place and became available to me.
Wow, thank you all for sharing. I love how everything fell into place or was called upon. Those are some of the verbiage that really stuck out to me. Growing up, mental health for me was less prioritized than physical health. Like I always thought of, if you break an arm or if you're getting a cold or flu symptoms, I never really considered my mental health. So what would each of you say to the 12-year-old version of Ariana? Whoever would like to start.
Yeah, I would say just mental health is just as important as physical health. kind of an example that I use with some of my clients and patients that I work with are, if you have a headache, what do you normally do? What do you all do when you have a headache?
Take some Advil or drink.
Yeah. So usually, and so I say, okay, so you'll take Advil, drink some water. So what is the barrier for mental health? And there's often still such the stigma around it. So it's like, if you're willing to take this medication, drink some water and care for your physical health, why not take a break, take a walk, drink some water? If you are struggling with pretty acute depression, you have that lack of serotonin in your brain. So oftentimes antidepressants alongside with therapy can help. So it's just kind of asking yourself, okay, you're willing to take this Advil, but why is it such a barrier to think about other alternative options?
Right. And for me, what I do is I say, how's life working for you? Mm-hmm. So if you're 12 years old and you're not getting along with your mother and you're not doing things are happening in school and you're not having the kind of relationships that you're having, I say, how's that working for you? Mm-hmm. Would you like it to work better? If you could imagine something and if you could imagine how your life can be, how would you want it? And then I would try to work with them in terms of what they imagine. I don't tell people what to do. I don't tell people what's good for them. I love the idea of my other panelists talk about self-agency because I pride myself in terms of digging into people and bringing out what's natural for them. So if natural for you is that, hey, I would like to make better grades, or hey, I would like to have more substantial friends, then we'll talk about doing that. And so my start with, how is all this working for you? If it work, I don't try to create shit. So if it's working fine for you, even though if it's dysfunctional for me, you keep it moving. But here's my number when it stopped working for you. I think people should make their own choices.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Kaylin, do you have any advice for 12-year-old Ariana?
I don't know. I would say probably I struggled with the same thing kind of, but it became really aware to me that I couldn't show up 100% physically if I wasn't taking care of myself mentally. So it's just as important as the physical, and it really helps you be there 100%.
Ooh, wish we were friends when I was 12.
Yeah. Can I say one other thing about that?
Please.
It's interesting how people focus in on the mind and body and the mind and the body and the spiritual sense, but they don't focus on the mental health. It's this craze, okay, we got to go out, we have to exercise. It's this craze that we have to go and then there's this craze in terms of this kind of intellectually, but we don't include the emotional piece in that trifecta. And I think that that's one of the problems. So at your 12-year-old, I think the other thing that I would try to orient you to, and I love the Ricky person in terms of that mind and feeling and having that energy and getting introduced to that energy. I think that I would try to do that in terms of working with the 12-year-old, and I would be calling that Ricky person to say, hey, there's another part of you that's metaphysical, that's something that you can't touch, something you can't smell, and I'm going to send you to my girl, and I'm going to have her help you to define that for yourself, define your own energy, define that you're made up more than the part of who it is that I'm seeing in this moment, and to be able to recognize that.
I'm gonna pick your brain a little bit more, Colette, because I'm curious how you use your knowledge of teletherapy and holistic healing for that emotional healing. If you could describe and discuss that a bit.
Right. And then my other therapist, my fellow therapist on the panel, I certainly would like for her to chime in as well, is that in terms of one of the things that I found out about telehealth, because prior to the pandemic, I was actually working in a brick and mortar. But once I started doing telehealth, I will never go back to a building. And I think that what happens is that people are able to show up in telehealth in ways they've never been able to do before. I have literally have done done therapy for people with whether or not if they were lying in the bed, or whether or not if they were trying to speak privately and they're in the bathroom, or whether or not if they went out to their car. Those are something that was never afforded. Telehealth has always been around, but there's not many of us practitioners that use it. So I think that you talk about this idea of literally meeting people physically where they're at, is that this is that opportunity. And so you don't get the stigma in terms of people walking into the room and walking into the waiting room and waiting for other people that typically don't even look like them, by the way. And being that nervousness for it, and then me calling you back, and then we're walking back to the office, and all that is done. And I think that because of the technological age, the social media, and all of that, I think that younger people, I have more people under 40 than I do over 40. In fact, I only got one person who's 40. And I think that it relates to those folks that are in the social media sphere. And I get clients all the time. And I think that they really like that. And sometimes I could talk to them on the phone, because I had a 13-year-old who said that she didn't want to show her face. So we did therapy over the phone. Back in the day, you could have done that. So what about the people who are not yet ready to be seen? Right. I think it provides a platform of anonymity in terms of them being able to get at the crux of things. So I loved telehealth.
Great. Yeah, I would chime in and say that's a good point. So I haven't done much telehealth. I also have a job at an inpatient psych hospital, so I've been in person this whole time, and then stepping into private practice. But I would just say from my work, I'm working in home with families just to see the family dynamics. Going in the home is just a different vibe. It's like you were saying, Colette, coming into maybe a mental health center and still the stigma tied to that in the waiting room. And so just feeling that uncomfortability. So I like what you were saying with the telehealth piece, just to show up as you are, right, and be in the comfort of your home. And so maybe that can open up more comfortability. So I think that's very empowering for patients clients to have that option.
Right. I had a client who would get a glass of wine because she was asked to. I don't care. I have a client who does, I don't smoke, not that she's smoking dope. What are those vapors? And I found out last week that she does the vapors because I asked. She said because she's nervous. And then my sister know that in our office, she would have never been able to do that, to use a vapor.
Yeah.
Right. Or the person coming home from work who actually was a military nurse during the midst of COVID, getting a glass of wine. I don't have no problem with that. This girl ain't no alcoholic. She just sipping on a glass of wine. I don't have no problem with that. But she would never been able to do that in the office.
Yeah, or I would. What brings that up for me is just that if you have pets and you don't have access to obtain a service animal, when you're going through this therapy session, and then you have the support of your animal, I think that could be very healing and therapeutic.
That's right. That's right.
Kaylin, would you mind touching on the distance healing that you do for Reiki as well? Are you seeing a similar point of view from Colette and Alice? And then maybe tie in how distance healing for Reiki works a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually don't have the same sort of telehealth communication when it comes to distance Reiki. People really can just reach out to me through text, email, whatever, and just say as vague or as detailed as they want what exactly it is they're looking for in the healing. And I can send it at any time, various times. And it's pretty uninvolved. You just reach out to me and then I'll do it. And if you want to reach out to me, if you feel a shift or a change for the better, then I am probably doing it for you at the time. But yeah.
Okay, so for someone like myself who has never had a Reiki session before, just kind of now learning about Reiki this year, can you walk through what happens during a Reiki session? And then what are some of the goals associated with Reiki as well?
Well, initially what happens in a Reiki session, if it's hands-on or distance, there will be some communication between the patient and me about physical or emotional wounds they want to work through, and either I will place my hands on them or in a talisman like a crystal or something of theirs to send to them for distance. And there will be a warmth feeling and light. It's kind of tingly and hard to put your finger on if you've never felt it before. What was your second question? I'm sorry.
And then also maybe the goals that are associated with it. Yeah.
I mean, those are different for everyone. It's definitely like emotional, physical, or spiritual healing. There can be cord cutting. There can be just like centering yourself, clearing your chakras, balancing your chakras. It's all dependent really on whoever is desiring it.
Okay, cool. All right, I might have to hit you up after this.
Absolutely.
So Alice, Colette, and Kaylin have kind of talked about each person having their own goals associated with their healing. Colette mentioned really asking that on what is it that you want, or how, what, shoot, I'm forgetting the question exactly.
How's it working for you?
How's it working for you? I'll write that down. For you and your practice, how hands-on are you for getting those goals for your clients? Is it a question? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so kind of a little bit just more in focusing on coming from a focusing and shifting our perspective away in terms of strength-based perspective away from the weaknesses and focusing on the client's strengths, their abilities, supports, what are their passions, rather than focusing on problems. Like for instance, it's, you know, trying person first language. So instead of I have depression, or I'm schizophrenic, or I'm bipolar, is just kind of changing that of I'm a person who struggles with depression, I'm a person who struggles with bipolar or schizophrenia, and shifting that mindset and then empowering. I just kind of see myself too as an agent of change and walking along with the patient on their journey. You know, I'm not necessarily telling them what to do, but being that support on the healing process, and changing the, especially with depression, the negative thought processes of, you know, shifting rather than if you're struggling with low self-esteem, you know, shifting your self-talk of rather than I'm a failure, you know, saying oftentimes I will fail. So starting to change that language in which how, you know, we view ourselves. And then also reminding my clients too is that, you know, mental health is a flaw in chemistry, not character. It does not define who you are. You know, focusing on that we all have strengths, even though, you know, it might be hard to hone in on those. And then seeing my role as a therapist of kind of just like being your second eyes, walking along with you along the journey to process through, you know, depression, anxiety, any trauma.
I love the strength-based perspective. This is again the first time I'm hearing of this perspective. Can you dive in a little bit deeper on that?
Yeah, I guess too. For example, I used to be a child protection worker, and so oftentimes, you know, you hear stories of trauma, and obviously you want to do the details, but before you read a scenario, and it can be very traumatizing. Before I went in, I would like to meet the family first and say, from your perspective, what is the situation? What happened? Rather than going in and making judgments or already having biases.
Right.
So really building on the strength. So rather than just focusing on the illness, you know, although, you know, you're struggling with depression, you can persevere. So rather than just sticking, you know, with the illness, what else? Rather than, I can persevere. I can walk through this depression, anxiety, hopelessness.
Yeah. Right. Wow. Thank you for clearing up my, I guess, a bit of the stigma of therapy it's something that I personally have kind of stopped myself from going after. But it's nice spaces that look
Can I
like.
ask what's been your barriers? What's getting in the way, or what has gotten in the way?
Yeah, I think the main barrier for me, number one, is not seeing folks who look like me on the other side of the couch, so to speak.
Yeah, I can relate. As therapists, we have therapists. I know I do. Just so
Yeah,
I
I do too.
support, right? So I have to be able to show up and be my best self in order to help others. But I can relate to that.
Yeah.
Having a hard time finding someone who you can relate with, someone in your hue. Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
I want to sidestep maybe a little bit because I'm curious about with Colette, what drew you to work with patients specifically with challenges that may result in unrecognized toxic behaviors? I think your verbiage,
Right. I think that in terms of being a Black woman, and I'm 62 actually, so this idea around people acting a certain way in terms of they're just crazy, right? You could just explain it away, or they're just like this. And people could choose Texas life, but if they don't want to, there's a way to live a healthy life in regards to you. But I wonder whether or not, I'm sorry, my mind is occupied with the question you asked my fellow therapist. One of the things that I do is that when I start therapy, I tell my clients from the very first session, there's 3 persons who I am in the room. One of them, I'm your therapist. The other one, I'm your elder. And the other one is I'm your auntie. And in all 3 of those worlds, I will vacillate to say, okay, I'm being a therapist now. And in fact, I was talking to a couple the other day. I was talking to the man, and I said, you know what? I'm about to be your auntie, and I'm about to slap you in the back of your head because the shit you talk about is crazy. Right? So for me, what I try to do is I try to be the familiar. Most of us have aunties that have been that strong piece of them. And sometimes I'm even in fact, I was talking to someone the other day, and I know that she sees me because she sees the good enough mother in me. And I allow that to happen. Now, some therapists will not do any of this, right? But when we're talking about in terms of working with people of color, and it's just like what you said, that you didn't see people who look like you, but also people who felt you. The best compliment I had that someone wrote on the health, it's called health aid, and therapists could work on it. He said that Miss Colette, in fact, my clients call me Miss Colette. Miss Colette reminded me of a family member. And I think that when we talk about doing this therapy and we talk about, and unfortunately, Ricky Person's the only one that's not, but I know my fellow when we use these European understanding of how we need to see mental health, and then people of color, we take our spin on that. And we take pieces of it because like she was talking about this idea about strength therapy. She also was talking about narrative therapy too, in terms of when did it show up? Why do you do that? And so we take these therapies and we mold them in a way that the people that look like us or the people who have similar experience like us, we mold it in a way so they can understand it, so they could feel it, so they can come into us. And it's not like you're going to a traditional European person because we're not necessarily just talking about how does that make you feel. Girl, what the hell you mean by that? What's going on with that? How you do that? How you devalue yourself? Where's the value in yourself? And it's the same questions, but it's done in ways in which people can relate to and be able to resonate with that keeps them coming and going. And I don't know about my fellow therapists, but I'm of the belief that I don't have to get you all the way there. In fact, I stopped seeing a girl yesterday because of the way she was sounding and she was on the road. Was she 100% there? Nah, but she had the skills to get there on her own. I don't have to be there on the end. And this is what we're talking about, this idea of the self-agency and self-direction. I don't have to be there to the end of your healing. I just need to help you develop the tools and set you on the right path and do like what they say, hit you on that bottom and get you going in that direction.
Stage manager Kaylani, if you can share the comment that Rex sent at 11:36 a.m. I just wanted to share the panel. He says, she does remind me of an aunt that doesn't take no mess, but will guide you spiritually and help you mentally.
That's me. That's me. And will love you to death.
Right.
And will tell you I love you. I'm a different than another therapist. I'll tell you I love you. And in fact, before this session, I called up some clients that I don't even have no more because they had trouble. And I'm saying, hey, baby, I just called on you, checking on you, sending you positive energy, and hope that you're going through this process in the ways that you need to go through. Click. But my sister, no, on the panel, therapists ain't supposed to do that. Once you cut off, you cut off. Call folks, but I be calling folks.
Yeah.
Hey, I miss you. I hope you're okay. Because it's real shit.
Yes.
Right. And I think that's so important because, with therapy, the relationship is one of the key components to help process and facilitate change. So if you're sitting in a room and you don't identify with someone or have that relationship, then it can impact therapy.
It can.
Yeah.
He's
So I think
right.
the importance too when seeking therapy is just, when you're looking for a therapist, asking like, what are your values? What is your cultural background? How do you see race and culture and, or anti-racism, and asking those questions.
Right.
There's another comment that I want to put on, which I feel like really ties in nicely with what you said, Alice. So Kaylani, it's Smile 48, Mr. at 11:38 a.m. This is so great. Starting with that comment, if you could display that on screen. This is so great. Our culture hasn't always had the resources to get mental wellness. And in fact, this topic wasn't offered as an option to us. I love this. I'm curious for the panel, because I think a lot of us feel like this, Black, Indigenous, people of color. How can we, as people, a part of the community, make these things more accessible, right? If y'all, anyone who wants to go first, yeah.
Oh, accessibility. That's a tough one, but I think obviously funding and a lot of things have to do with that. So I think it was just that the different foundations that focus on mental health, I think are important. I see for me, as I always saw myself, so I also have a background in social work. So I'm a licensed clinical social work. So I always thought, myself as like more of the micro individual, but now I see myself kind of moving through being more of that agent of change and working, more policy based, sitting on boards to have a voice to better advocate for mental health. So that's some of the ways that I can see that being a change to facilitate change, to have more access to resources. And I think just awareness is, there are local mental health centers and places that you can go, but if you're not aware, it can be hard to navigate.
Right.
Right.
Miss Colette or Kaylin, would you like to chime in? Yeah.
I worked in healthcare, like Sis said that she worked at CPS. I worked in healthcare prior, so the idea about accessing for those of us who are color is quite different. I think it's changing, though. I don't think it's changing enough. I think that young people like yourself, I'm 62 years old, so the idea of someone going to therapy at that time, but oftentimes my clients have had therapy in elementary school or high school. So I think that there's a shift in terms of generation about people accessing this. One of the things that I used to advertise, hell, I don't have to advertise no more because I have friends who are referring their friends or referring their families. And so I think a lot of that's happening, but something kind of remind me. So back in the day, I was really involved in sex workers. And so I used to go to these conferences and stuff. And so I used to stand up because the only Black person or brown person that was on the stage was somebody who was already involved in the sex work. And everybody else, I saw white social workers. Girlfriend know what I'm talking about. I saw and so I stood up and said, you know what? I'm tired of coming to these conferences and seeing people that look like you all, but then yet and still you bring in a person who's the expert, but you're not having people who look like me. That's number one. Number two, about a couple of months ago, a colleague called me and asked me whether or not if I would be interested in working with people who were trafficked. The other thing that I think that we're needing to do is we're needing to pay our people of color. They wanted me to come and work for them.
Yes.
And they wanted me to pay $30 an hour. Girlfriend know what I'm talking about, $30 an hour? Yeah. I said, you know what? Yeah. How come you don't value the people that you're serving in order to get people who are serving them so that we all can be valued for this situation? Right. Mm-hmm. Don't come at me because I'm Black and you could cheapen the process for me. So I think that a lot of the access for my piece has to do with the idea that people are cheapening the process and not investing for those people who have gone through trauma, those people who have gone through all sorts of things, and they want to bring somebody in and pay them little or nothing to do the kind of work that they want to do. So I think that even the system is creating a bottleneck of access because they're unwilling to get the people in there and pay them what it is that they're worth. Yeah. I ain't working for free.
Yeah.
All right, Auntie, yes. Okay. Alice or Kaylin, did you want to chime in on that piece at all? If not, no pressure.
Yeah, no, I think you bring up good points, Miss Colette. I think just, the value in terms of, I actually was speaking with another fellow. Can you hear me?
Right.
Okay, another fellow therapist, and kind of just the value within the Black culture of obviously just the stigma that's attached to mental health. But then when you are accessing mental health, of first barrier of not often seeing people who look like you. Mm-hmm. But then when you do, still placing value as, I worked hard to get in the fields that I am, and valuing my services as if you were to go to another person, Caucasian or person not of color.
Yeah, absolutely. Kaylin, how are you feeling about this question? Did you want to chime in at all? Again, if not, no pressure.
Can you repeat the question again?
Yeah, so we were just talking about how to make different aspects of mental health a bit more accessible. I don't know if you want to talk about the activist side of it as well, what you've kind of done for how you've traveled around the country and provided that access, but whatever your opinion is and what you feel called to speak on.
I guess I've just tried to make my Reiki as accessible as possible. I offered it at the healing tent yurt in Standing Rock for the protest there. And basically every Reiki session I've done since I've been attuned as a master has been for free. And the great thing about Reiki is it is in all of us and it's accessible to all of us. You just need someone who's attuned to it to show you the ropes. So even if you don't have someone there, you can find someone on the internet, I'm sure, or reach out to me to show you the ropes. And it's in all of us. And that's why I think it's the most accessible healing modality. You can do it all on your own.
Oh, thank you. I know that I think we lost Colette a little bit. She'll be popping in just a moment. So I wanted to ask this question that we have, I believe, from our Facebook page. Thank you, Melissa, who's our director of social media, for sending this to me. But this comes from, oh, wait, I don't have the name. So with access, insurance, healthcare being a barrier, do you see a future where things like group therapy, peer-led wellness collectives, et cetera, can fill some of those gaps? Oh, thank you, Kaylani, for putting it up.
Oh, yeah, I do. I think group therapy, can you hear me? Yeah, I wanted to focus on doing a women's empowerment group. I had the opportunity recently to meet, I'll actually be meeting her in person tomorrow, but talking about body positivity. So one of my goals is to have a women's empowerment group to talk about body positivity, the impacts, that on your self-esteem. So I think also group therapy could be a good way to process and heal.
Yeah, I guess I'll just slightly plug. one of the main ways that Wellness Online started was by doing, we call it group share because none of us are licensed, but just having every other week online on Zoom, having us just talk about what's going on, self-reflection. One of our founders, Maya, leads and gives a lot of resources for us to at least practice group therapy. I'd never done it before, and I think that's why it's helping me get a better understanding of mental health and clinical therapy, et cetera.
And it can be so healing to be in the, a room with a group of people and they have similar struggles, and to be able to process that together.
Yeah.
Learn from one another. Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, Colette, I'm not sure if we can hear you if you're muted. It might be the headphones. You might. Oh no, I think you're muted.
Press unmute. I think you need to click the unmute on your screen.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, yep, there we go. I know, technology. Something new every time. Another question that I had, as we're talking about access, I can't help but think about coming back to the family and how that is a part of access too. So how does the negative stigma of mental health in some families play a role in providing care?
I feel like that plays a big role, because if you think about the healing process, having other supports, people to support you through that process. So if you're feeling like you're in it alone, you can continue to feel stuck in that depression, anxiety, if you have no other outlets or supports. So I think not, family still shunning you or seeing that mental illness as a stigma can continue to impact your growth.
So I think that in terms of segmentation, being stigma around mental health in the community, as I said before, since COVID, I think a lot of paradigms have shifted. Mm-hmm. And the other piece of that too is I think that when you get services that are related to people of color, it helps. I think that in terms of just having family, like for instance, my great niece is sitting here listening to us. I think that is helpful to allow people to show the little ones about in terms of mental health, and it's okay in terms of expressing yourself and so forth. Sweetie, you can sit down. And I think that just literally having people at your foot, right? In terms of that. The other piece of it is that back in 2012 in LA for Los Angeles County Department of Mental Health, I actually was a therapist for a project, and it was multiple ethnicity. And what we did is we combined alternative health, mental health, and medical health. So I think that these systems are changing so that people are able to access them in ways that works for them. So example, I'd never forget, I had a guy who suffered a stroke and was in pain, but then also was suffering from depression. So what I did is I worked with the nurse practitioner to talk about the idea of titrating the medications for him. I worked with the yoga teacher. I worked with the acupuncture, and then he did mental health. So I think that we're now are recognizing that people need different ways of approaching, so that because I don't think that access is as much, and I don't know if Sis would agree with me. I'm not quite sure if access is as much as sustainability. Because I think people come, but they don't stay.
Right.
And I think that sustainability is something that we're needing to focus on, because I think that you will be hard pressed to find someone under the age of 50 who doesn't know about therapy or have known someone who have gone to therapy. I have no clients under the age of 40 who's never done therapy before. None.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. As a child in school.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say, in terms of access, there's a center in here in Colorado Stride, where it's that integrated care model. So the psychiatrist, the therapist, so it's a more of an integrated health system. So then you're going to one location and getting your needs met. But I feel it's the sustainability piece that is challenging. But in terms of access, promoting, I also did some work in early childhood and infant mental health. So I actually worked with kiddos doing some therapy and trauma work starting at the age of 3.
Get that right. And their parents didn't have a problem with that, neither, did they?
No, and actually I included their parents. Yeah. And so the framework is really focusing on the parents, learning their past trauma history. So when they are in the room with the child, I can notice their triggers. I can support them when we're going through the process.
There you go. Yeah. And the sustainability, I think that's the missing piece of whether or not, if you're doing things that help people to stay in the process, because if you don't, even if you come, in terms of access, but if you don't stay, you don't reap the benefits.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Kaylin, I'd love to hear your perspective on sustainability for Reiki. In a Reiki session, does it make sense for people to keep coming back and kind of keeping everything level, or is it more of a one session scenario?
Sustainability is definitely it with Reiki. A lot of people won't even notice the effects their first session because it's so subtle. So definitely the more you use it, the more you get used to it, the more you'll see it impacting your life.
Thank you for that perspective. Did not know. See, I'm learning so much today. I hope everyone who's watching is learning some more as well. If you have any questions for the panelists, we'll be doing the quote unquote official Q&A in a little bit. So please comment your questions. I have a few coming in already. But before we get to that, I did have another question just to give an idea of a breakthrough. So could you describe a breakthrough moment that one of your clients or a few of your clients have had, of course, keeping clientele anonymous, and what were they able to release, let go of, that they hadn't before?
Can I start?
Please, yeah.
It actually happened last night, so it's interesting to read that question beforehand. It happened last night. So I was working with this woman, and there were some things that were going on in her life that wasn't serving her. And so for me, part of healing is to confront that in which you have been fearful and you've been putting in the back of your mind and you've been working and dancing around it. So she, unbeknownst to me, we had been talking about it, but last night she told me that she had a conversation with her mother. And in doing this conversation with her mother, she was able to dispel some thoughts that she had been carrying about herself. And so the problem being, in just a second, the problem being is that when things happen to us early in life, we develop a script for it.
Right.
Even though we're 50 now, but that script at 5 or 6 or 7 years old still prevail at when you're older. And so one of the things that I talked to her about that I thought that was interesting is how she was able to dispel this idea that her mother never cared for her too much, and how it was powerful for her to be able to have that conversation with her mom and to learn that what she thought of her mom wasn't at all. So I would suggest that my work involves that people confront their fears safely, right? Confront their fears safely, because when you begin to learn that you've been operating on some shit that didn't even matter, that wasn't even yours, that you just made up in your head, that doesn't even exist, then you're able to become your authentic self, because now you're working on information that is in your best interest than information that's keeping you caught in that vortex. And that's how I have generally, and they surprised me. Hell, I didn't know she was going to talk to her mama, but it surprises me. And I think that once they get that courage to do that, and I will close with this idea that in my bio, I don't know if you noticed that I said that one of the things that I help people with is having the courage to ask for what it is that they want and having the power to say no to that they don't want.
Yeah. Great.
Woo-wee.
For real though.
That's the way to start it. To start that question
real,
off. Would someone else like to share a breakthrough moment with a client?
Yeah, I'll go next. So working I was thinking about a client I worked with and just struggling with addiction, depression, and just very angry at their family, at the world.
But you'll ask
and
me
really
questions later.
Breakthrough of really just saying,
Okay.
stepping back and
So you can get
reflecting
up
and
and leave
saying,
anytime you
hey,
want.
my
One
behaviors.
moment. Colette. Oh, there we go. We got it. Never mind. Go ahead, Alice.
My behaviors and actions have an impact on my family. This is why they're reacting and responding this way. And being able to recognize that my behaviors have an impact and being more graceful with herself and then the family of why they were setting limits and boundaries.
Whew. Y'all giving me chills. Kaylin, could you talk about a breakthrough moment, maybe a few sessions on, or I guess for everyone, it's a few sessions on for Reiki as well. What one of your clients let go of? Yeah.
I haven't had too many because of my nomad lifestyle, consistent sessions with clients. But at Standing Rock, I did have a big breakthrough with one of my friends who I was giving a treatment to. And she suffered a lot of abuse from the police there. And I was able to lay her head in my lap and give her a Reiki session for about an hour. And she started sobbing in my lap, and you could just feel this weightlessness from her once we were done. And she was smiling. She hadn't smiled in weeks. So that was pretty cool for me. It was our first session together.
Wow, that is powerful. That is powerful. I just want to say before we get to the Q&A, thank you all so much for sharing so openly, so honestly. I feel impacted, and I hope our viewers feel impacted as well, to make mental health a priority and not number 5, right? So before we go on, I'd like to just kind of highlight you all one more time, so that way I can just read off what's at the banner so people can focus and on you. Let's start maybe with Alice. That's who I'm seeing first. And then banner. Yep. So please visit Alice's website, alicewestgoers.com. You can also reach her on Instagram, Alice Westgoers LCSW. Get in contact with her, especially if you are local to Colorado. I know we have a lot of Colorado natives, people living in Colorado watching right now. Prioritize your mental health.
That's right.
Is there any last thing before the Q&A that you would like to say, Alice?
Yeah, just kind of a quote that stood out to me, and just really thinking about mental health. So I have it here.
We love a good quote.
Look, I have it here. So it's Brene Brown. She's a social worker.
I love Brene Brown.
Yeah. So in a society that says put yourself last, self-love and self-acceptance are almost revolutionary.
It is.
Yes. Yes.
That's beautiful. Oh,
yeah.
Yep. And that's kind of the radical care, healing is revolution theme. So nice little button. Let's bring up Colette next. I'd just like to read her information.
Yeah, I'm glad that Alice said that, because she reminded me of something I forgot. I want to read a passage. I have this book. I would suggest that everyone get this. It's called Please, and it is Black Girl Bliss is the author, and it's called Radical Self-Care for Wild Women of Color. I love it.
Wow.
So I will read you a little passage here, and it says, Black women, particularly descendants of enslaved Africans, have been in survival mode since we were abducted from our home and stranded in a foreign land. Trauma has been passed down generation after generation with little context and fewer resources with which to heal. We continue to live under the direction of the threat of violence as the entire world make it clear how much they hate us both, blackness and womanhood, and has anyone supposed to find pleasure in that? And so this book is about the idea of finding pleasure, and they're not particularly talking about sex.
Could you
And we talked about and we talked about self-care earlier, and it's talking about this idea that we know self-care is $1 billion industry, and it's talking about how not going externally to get pleasure, of how to get pleasure within yourself.
Yes. Could you read the book title one more time for?
It's called it's by Black Girl Bliss. It's called Please, and it's called Radical Self-Care for Wild Women of Color. And the author makes no bones that says that any woman could read this book, but she wrote it for Black folks.
Come on. So if you would like to contact Colette, Miss Colette, I'm gonna call you Miss Colette now. Please go to her website, which I need to like scroll back so I can read it off. Almost there. So www.sankofaholisticcounseling.org. Thank you so much, Colette. So definitely comment questions for Alice and Colette, and then let's bring on Kaylin. Hey, Kaylin, was there anything that you would like to say to wrap up your portion, I guess? Yeah. Oh, you said, okay, I saw the shade. You were muted, but I'm assuming that's no.
No, not really, honestly. Sorry.
No worries, no worries. To reach Kaylin, you can either go to her Instagram at winged iridescent creature. Oh, winged dash iridescent. Wait, hold on. Let me wait for it to scroll back now. At winged period iridescent creature on Instagram, and Venmo Kaylin Diana. Because yes.
Since Kaylin didn't say anything, Kaylin's work is very important to my work. I see us as a complement therapies that will help. I know and I love the idea that she's reserved because she probably gives all her energy and power to her clients. Okay. And so I get you, but I'm telling you, if you all are doing therapy, I would also suggest that you do the accompaniment therapy with her as well, or with a person like her as well.
Oh, yes, I love to see it. So let's get some questions up if we have any. Let's see. I had one sent to me. Not sure exactly where this came from, but I'm just going to read it off to you. So for people who are hesitant to see a therapist, like myself, we talked about a little bit, what would you say is the best outcome from therapy or healing, emotional healing in general, for our Reiki practitioner as well? Best outcome?
I would say just stepping into your power, being able to show up in the world and be your authentic self. You know, I think in a world where we live in shame and all this oppression, it can be so hard to show up and be who you are. So I think, and that's something that I learned too, of showing up, you know, walking through my power, shifting from eventually being in a corporate world to, hey, let me start my own private practice. Let me do the work that I want to do. So, and I think help just, you know, shifting your perspectives, your narrative, like Miss Colette said, it's like we have, you know, if we've had early childhood experiences, especially with trauma, we have this kind of script of the way we see the world. I actually went to this training and it was really powerful. It was early childhood, and it was a picture of this car. It was a family. It was a dad, a son and a daughter. The dad's working on the car's lifted up. And so it was interesting. He asked like, oh, what do you see? And so from a trauma perspective, if it was like that car will fall and drop on you, or all these different experiences. And so it was so interesting to see. But I think just a space to be able to process.
I think to add on what she said, it's just to add on, I wouldn't say anything differently, is that therapy has its risks and benefits.
Right.
And I think that, as I tell my clients, is sometimes you're going to leave here and you're going to feel sad. Sometimes you're going to avoid feeling the feelings. But if you stick with it, just like I was telling you about this young woman, I think I've been seeing her for about 6 months. And I think if you stick with it, I think that you will see a different outcome. I think one of the things that, when they're trying to find a therapist, I'd never forget one thing a woman told me my first session. That's why I understand the Ricky Percy things. Breakthroughs could happen on your first session. It doesn't have to take a lot. And this woman told me, I want to tell you something, Miss Collette. And I was like, I don't know. Maybe you're not. Because she said, I never even told my other therapist this. Maybe you're not. And so she says, well, let me tell you why I want to tell you. Because I get the sense that you move me and my other therapists I've been to hold me. So if you're looking for a therapist and you're wanting to have this sense of being engulfed in this encapsulated in this way of understanding and this way of being, then that's the therapist you want to get for. I ain't for everybody. I know that, right? And so, if you're, because I could tell my sister right there, I can already tell that she's the type of therapist that will walk you through step by step by step. Is that right, sis? Alice?
Oh, yes, walk along with the process. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Me, I'm telling you stuff. I had a transgender person, and I told the male to female, and I told him that he was acting like a damn white patriarchal man in this relationship. First session, because I see what I see, and in fact, I'm still seeing them, and they actually called me to see me again. But I try to tell the truth as I see it, and then we can go from there. Everybody ain't ready for that. Everybody ain't ready for that. And so you need to get to someone who, when you work with them initially, you need to get someone who you feel that you can walk along with them, like Alice said, and that you feel as though that you feel very comfortable with that. Because I ain't gonna sit with you for a long time over bullshit. I'm just not. Okay. So you get the person who you are matched with. Mm-hmm.
And then, sorry, you're making me laugh. So for Kaylin, what is the best outcome you would say out of Reiki? I know we touched on it a little bit, but to conserve your energy.
I would say everyone leaves with a sense of strength and knowledge in themselves that they're able to take on anything that their world may bring them. Warmth and comfort feeling. Sometimes some unease, but you're able to work through that because of the sessions.
Right.
Thank you. Oh, strength, stepping into your power, telling it like it is. Yes. Okay. Another question from Kaylani. Knowing what we know in terms of the pandemic now, what would you recommend for mental care or prepping if we were to go into another lockdown? Wow. Who would like to take on this question?
You know what I would do? I would journal. You know what I've been finding in terms of my clientele? That people have had a lot of time to think, they don't have distraction, and they're realizing things about themselves. So I would recommend people journaling. I would recommend people getting self-help books. I would recommend that people will be compassionate with themselves. And I would recommend that people see this as an opportunity and not a loss of normality. Because most people of color, normal shit didn't work for us anyway. So the idea of us being able to reinvent ourselves, for us to push paradigms, create paradigms, I would strongly suggest that people do that. Nothing is normal anymore. So whatever it is that you're wanting to do, as long as it's not against the law and as long as it ain't hurting babies, that you can create whatever it is that you want and you can go forward with that, because people are not of the same mind. And so what stuff sound crazy in 2019 might sound like a brilliant idea in 2020. So stretch your boundaries, stretch your thinking, and go for it.
Yeah, I think that just like Miss Colette said, of just the value of time. Time is so precious, and so how do you spend your time creating different ways to, like you said, the journaling? How do you connect? Now we have the online platforms, connecting with friends, I heard people doing different game nights or different things to be able to connect. It sounds like you, Ariana, doing the little wellness connecting in that way. So I think just during this time, we found different ways to be able to work through the pandemic and still be able to connect and heal.
Yes, absolutely. Again, no pressure, Kaylin. Would you like to add on? If not, we can go into another. We have some more questions rolling in too. So
I'm okay.
Great. Okay, yeah, no worries.
One last thing is modulate your anxiety and your uncertainty, because uncertainty breeds anxiety. And so the idea of being uncertain in terms of breeding the anxiety, realize that the control is about realizing that you have no control.
Right.
Modulate your anxiety, because none of this shit is real.
Woo! Come on, that's the quote of the day. None of this shit. Could we put up the question? Oh, perfect. Yeah. So Colette, you had mentioned self-help books. So for all of us on the panel, what books are good starting points for people who aren't ready for therapy?
I think, you know what? So I've been cussing the whole damn time, so it don't matter. More clients are reading this. So I'll do it in kind of categories. So in terms of just trying to get in touch with yourself, there's a book that's called something about mindfuck that they might want to see. Alice shader. So that's a book that they might want to start up with. The other one, that there's this Buddhist nun, and she talks about, and it's on an Audible tape, as Alice Walker is interviewing her, and she talks about getting unstuck. So that's one thing that I would do. And so if you do Alice Walker and Buddhist nun, it'll come up. It's because Alice Walker is interviewing her, she's interviewing Alice Walker. The other thing that I just did last night, I was talking to someone, is that the things that in terms of relationship, because I'm a relationship person, the things that I should have known before I got divorced, or the art of letting go. The other one is It Didn't Start With You. I love that book. It Didn't Start With You, and it deals with generational trauma. And my last book is Healing Developmental Trauma. And what happens is that typically when children are traumatized at a very early age, that they develop survival skills. And so the survival skills that I used when I was 8 years old compared to when I'm 48 years old is going to create a whole bunch of problems in my life, like Alice said. So that and that one's by Lawrence Heller. And Alice, I don't want to steal your thunder. What's girlfriend's name? Bree Brown? Is that how you know?
Brene Brown. Yeah, Brene Brown.
She deals with shame. And she deals with vulnerability. And she has a wonderful book on shame in men. She usually deals with shame with women, but Alice, you know the one that she does with shame in men?
Yeah, and she also has TED Talks, so you can find her TED Talks.
Millions of TED
tons of TED Talks, yeah.
One last book. There's a book called Triggers.
And there's another one that I have, The Unapologetic Guide to Black Mental Health, Dr. Rita Walker.
Okay.
And then also another one that I found out Healing Racial Trauma, The Road to Resilience is a really good one. Also another one I started to read is My Grandmother's Hands by Rashawn.
Oh yeah, I heard about that one.
Yeah. And two, in terms of, there's also another one, Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome, just to focus more on, that's a.
So can I say something about post-traumatic slave syndrome?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. So what happened is when Dr. Joyce DeGrasse, that was her dissertation when she wrote that book.
Mm-hmm.
The problem being with that book, which I love it and I have it in my library, but the problem being with that book is they don't talk about epigenetics in that book. And so epigenetics is this whole idea of how trauma biologically in your DNA is being passed down to you. So I would read Dr. Joyce DeGrasse book about post-traumatic slavery, and also It Didn't Start With You, because Didn't Start With You will give you the science of why it is that you have trauma and you don't even know why the hell you feel the way you feel, because something has been passed down to you from your mother's mother, and you wonder why you walk around with all this vulnerability.
Yeah, there's another study you've heard, Ms. Colette, ACEs. You're familiar with that? Adverse childhood experiences. So that's a good look on just different experiences, and then that impacts your health outcomes. So how mental health has the impact on your physical health. So they can predict different outcomes for your physical health.
Well, one last thing, literally.
Yeah.
Alice started this mess. There's another study. I went to a couple of years, about maybe 2018. I went to Philadelphia. They have the Philadelphia ACEs.
Okay.
So the ACEs that Alice is referring to has 10 indicators. The Philadelphia ACEs have 40 indicators.
Oh wow!
And they and the Philadelphia ACEs deal with people who are in foster care, community violence, and all sorts of different things that the ACEs doesn't. So it's called Philadelphia ACEs, and it's for free. All this stuff that we're talking about in terms of ACEs and stuff, that's for free.
Mm-hmm.
And and when we get started, there's one more book I just bought recently that I want to wanted to share as well in terms of the title. I just bought it last night. That deals with racial and Black folks trauma, and it's called "Are You the Best?" Oh, that's why Alice. This is why I thought about Alice. Alice is so inspiring to me. This book is called "Are You the Best Thing?" and it has that Bree Brown with someone named Tarana Burke. So I'm imagining that Bree Brown coupled up with a Black woman to talk about shame, which I love it, right? To talk about shame and self-worth. And it's called "Are You the Best Thing?" And I think it's brand new because I just saw it last night.
Beautiful.
Here you go, baby.
Beautiful. We're definitely going to compile that list and probably post it on Instagram for those of you tapping in live, because I want those books also. Let's do one more question to wrap up the Q&A. Perfect. So how do you keep public issues, social responsibility in mind on the path to personal healing when showing up for yourself is already difficult? Wow. Great question. Thank you for that. Because I need to know too.
I think, being graceful with yourself and giving yourself time to set boundaries around, hey, maybe I need to take a break. What are other ways that I can engage in these social issues where I'm, that would be helpful for you? So asking yourself, what would be helpful in this moment for me?
I personally say pace yourself. Your forefathers, your mom, your grandmother, they've been fighting this fight. And that your fight in this fight is bring us closer to resolution.
Right.
My mom was 90 years old, and may Allah be pleased with her. When she saw Obama getting sworn in, that was something that she never thought that would be possible, but she had fought many years prior to that. So we have to remember that even though we live in this capitalistic society that talks about this idea of us being individually, but people of color are typically collective people, and to realize that the struggle doesn't end and start with you. That's one thing. And my last thing is that to know the difference when you are involved in a moment compared to a movement. because a movement is the one that keep going, and you're not the only one. And that's why I love the Black Lives Matters movement, because during my era, we had leaders. The Black Life movement flipped the switch that we all are leaders.
Mm-hmm.
And know your role and know that you play a part of it. And don't try to swallow too much because it will swallow you.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I got notes. I'm scribbling over here. This is phenomenal. Thank you, Kaylin, Miss Colette, Alice, so much for joining us today on this Radical Care Healing is a Revolution panel. Please, 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 please tap into all three of them. Learn more about therapy, Reiki, and other ways to heal emotionally that we maybe did not cover in this panel. Next, we do have yoga and meditation with Zari Rose to end out and ease out the evening. I'm gonna switch into my yoga pants real quick. Thank you all so much. And I'm just gonna talk a little bit about Zari while she's getting ready. But yes, thank you.
Thank you, panelists.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
So Zari Rose is an actress as well as a yoga practitioner located in the Los Angeles area. They got into yoga actually through their university when they did a yoga class with their acting program. Throughout this pandemic lockdown situation, Zari has been providing yoga and meditation online virtually in the morning. So you can tap in with her Instagram if you'd like to join one of her sessions. But for today, we are all going to be a part of her session during this Wellness Online County Collective's Juneteenth celebration. So let's bring on Zari. Yes. Okay. Outfit. Yes. This is so cute. Great space. I'm going to go get set up as well so I can join you all. Thank you so much, Zari. And thank you to everyone who has helped organize this event. Thank you, Kaylani, our stage manager. Thank you to my Wellness Online team. Thank you to the County Collectives team for organizing, sponsoring this event. Please tap in with both of our organizations. You can reach Wellness Online on Instagram at Wellness Online, WON1, and County Collectives, you can reach them on their Facebook page. So Zari, take it away. We are having a little bit of sound issues, Zari. I'm not sure if you have maybe a speaker connected or something that's taking it away from us. Still can't hear. Oh no, still can't hear. Come on. We're gonna win today. We're gonna get this healing on Juneteenth. It seems to be more of a mic situation. So we might have you leave and then come back just to reset everything. And maybe you can go onto your settings and audio just to make sure that the correct mic is put on for this event. In the meantime, I will read a couple more poems.
Can you
oh, nope. There we go.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I reset it. I reset it.
Perfect.
Okay. Let's do this. Sorry, I have my iPad here just to see the chat. Happy Juneteenth, everybody. You know, let's go ahead and start and do our yoga practice today. We're just gonna get right into it. We're gonna start at the top of our mats with our feet together. We're gonna go into our mountain pose. So just your hands to your side. And you're just gonna breathe, okay? Close your eyes right here, breathe. Really set up how you want this practice to be. And that is completely okay. You can do whatever you want for this practice because it is your practice. Obviously, I am your guide, but if you need to change any of the poses to really help you, you can go ahead and do that. Other than that, let's just close our eyes and breathe. So let's take the time to lift our hands all the way up. Let's go ahead and take our hands all the way down to touch your toes. And if you can't touch your toes, that's totally fine. You can always bend your knees just a little bit so you can get your hands on there. What I like to do is I like to bend a little and straighten just within my own time. This is really for you. If you feel like, hey, I just want to stay down here, that is totally fine. If you just want to stay down here, that is totally fine too. Or if you want to move with me, it's all up to you. Come halfway up. So take your hands and put them on your shins and just look up and make sure that you have a flat back. Come all the way back down, and we're going to step back into our plank. And if this is not your first time doing yoga, you probably know what to do, but if it is your first time, we're going to take our knees down first, take our elbows all the way into our sides, into a nice chaturanga. And then when you're ready, we're going to do up baby cobra. And just breathe here. And make sure that your palms are all the way down because we're going to go into king cobra now. Your legs can still be on the ground for this one. And then we're going to slowly flow into our downward dog. You can move your legs here. You can find stillness. Whatever you feel like your body needs, go ahead and do. So we're going to take the time to take our right leg right in between both of our hands. And just stay there for a moment. Make sure that back foot drops down where it's flat and it's pointing in this direction. And then we're going to come and cartwheel up into our warrior two. So for this one, you may need to finesse a little bit. Make sure that your front leg is in a 90-degree angle. Your back foot is really supporting. And then look at your hands. We're going to come all the way back down into that lunge. We're going to let go of that front leg. We're going to go into our chaturanga. So knees down first, then elbows in, and then look up into baby cobra. Let's take a big breath to get into king cobra. And from there, let's flow
into our down dog. And this time, we're going to take our left foot right in the middle of our arms. Just take a moment and breathe here. If this is hard for you, you can always put your knee down. And if you want to challenge yourself, keep it up. But everything is up to you. Modify the way you need to modify. And then let's take that back foot, make sure it points, to the back. And let's cartwheel kind of up into our warrior two. And really make sure that front leg is in a 90-degree angle and that you're looking at this hand in front of you. Let's bring it all the way back down. And this time we're going to add a little bit of a challenge. So see if you can just bring your legs and your feet to meet one another. Then we're just going to rise up with our hands all the way up, reaching for the sky. We're going to take our time and just dive all the way down where you've reached to your toes. And you know what to do. If you feel like you need to bend here, you can. And then take your palms onto your shins. Make sure that you have a flat back and just look up for a little bit. Bring your hands back down. Let's take one step back, and if you want to challenge yourself, you can obviously hop back. Now we're going to take our knees all the way down to the ground. Take those elbows in. Lift up just from the back. And if you want to challenge yourself just a little bit, take your hands up. You shouldn't be up too much. This is fine. And once you're ready, put your hands all the way down and lift to that cobra. Take a moment to flow onto that down dog. Maybe this down dog, you just want to find stillness. And it's okay if your heels are all the way up. If you want them down a little bit more, you can just walk in closer. And then let's take that right leg right in the middle into that nice lunge. Let's go ahead and plant that back foot. Let's go back
into that warrior two. And just breathe here. As you're breathing, see if you can go deeper in the pose in any way. Whether that's deepening your breath, if your leg is up here and you're just like, you know what, I think I can get a little farther. You can. And then take this elbow, reach it to your front knee, and take your back hand and just move forward with it. And look up at it, you can look at the side, you can look in front of you, but just find the focal point that you can focus on. You can find movement in this pose. You want to like rotate out your wrist. You can rotate out both. Take it back up into warrior two. We're going to go into our humble warrior. So just take your hand to where your knee is and take that front arm originally and just reach it all the way back. If this is hard for you, you can obviously reach this high. It's all up to you. Let's come back into our warrior two. Let's finally reach all the way back down into our plank. That was very juicy. Let's take our knees down. Take our arms down. Whew. Lift up into that baby cobra. Breathe in, big inhale. Exhale as soon as you're up. Now flow to your downward dog. Just take a moment here and breathe before we start on our other side. Let's take in your left leg right in the middle. Plant that back foot. Come all the way into that warrior two. Let's go ahead and reach. Get that elbow to your knee. Reach all the way. And breathe. Remember, if you want to rotate your wrist, you can. If you want to find stillness and really reach, you can do that too. Let's come back into warrior two. Let's go into that humble warrior. Remember to reach your hand towards your knee or your upper thigh, wherever you're at today. And reach that forward arm straight to the back. Let's come back up into warrior two. Let's rotate all the way back down. Whew. Go back into that plank. Go onto your knees and just go into a child's pose. And just breathe here. Really embrace the relaxation. So we're going to take our left arm and reach towards the left along with our right, just to get that nice stretch in our oblique and our shoulder. We're just going to take 5 breaths here. Make sure that your head is rested on your mat. Let's come back through the center for about 3 breaths. And relax before we move on to the other side. And now let's take our right arm to our right with our left hand to follow, just to stretch out those obliques, that nice shoulder. Come to the center. Slowly rise all the way up. And just take a moment to sit up on your toes. If you want, just take this moment to breathe. Really focus on that breath. Close your eyes even. And remind yourself that you are powerful. You are beautiful. You are strong. You can do all things. And you are grateful to make it here today. Take in all of that and breathe. Breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. We're going to do that about 5 more times. let's take in that one last breath. And let it all out. Slowly open up your eyes. Reach towards the front of your mat. Get into a nice tabletop position. Because right now we're going to cat-cow. So we're going to go up. This is cow. With your head up, your bum up. And if you want to go through cat, just curve up that spine like you're a scared cat. And now you can go backwards. Not backwards. You can go to and from each position. And cow. And then cat. And cow. And cat. And just swish through these movements, following your breath. And if you find yourself wanting to curve a little on the side, go ahead and curve on the side. It's your practice. If you want to rotate your cat-cow, go ahead. Really take the time to follow your breath with this one. And when you're ready, come back into tabletop for a moment. We're just going to lift up that left arm and your right leg. And we're just going to try to bird dog just 3 times. So you're going to take your elbow to just kiss your knee. And then take it back out. Take your elbow again to kiss the knee. And bring it back out. Bring it back out. And then let's come back into our tabletop. Let's take up that opposite leg and the opposite arm. Again, take that elbow. Kiss your knee. And really breathe here. I know it's easy to hold in your breath, but don't. Take it back out. Come down. Yeah, that felt nice, didn't it? And now just do a few more cat-cows. Just a few more. When you're ready, find yourself in a seated position. Yeah. More like a straddle. We're not going to stay in a straddle, so don't worry. You're just going to start here. Bend your right leg. Just like figure 4 in gym class. And you're just going to reach as far as you can. If you are right here, that's fine. You're going to reach as far as you can and lift up that arm. And just breathe. Really stretch out those sides. And if you want, you can even close your eyes here. If you feel like challenging yourself, obviously go deeper. But be okay with where you're at today. Let's come out of that slowly but steadily. We're just going to rotate a bit so our sternum is kind of facing our toes. We can, and we're just going to reach to our toes as far as you can today. If you are up here, totally fine. If you're feeling loose, reach for it. Come all the way up. Come towards the center. Go back out into that straddle. And take in that other leg for another figure four. Let's go ahead and reach that arm just a little bit. Just to go over. And remember, one side may be looser than the other. And that is totally okay. But what's most important is that you breathe. And let's lift that back up. And let's just turn a little bit of our chest towards our toes. Really elongate that back and reach down as far as you can. And if you are right here, or if you're like, Zari, I feel like staying right here, you can. This is your day today. Okay. Come back up. We're going to meet in an old-fashioned butterfly. If you want to, you can let your butterfly fly. If not, just come down and reach as far as you can go. If you can go farther, go farther. Let your neck go a little bit. Really look at your toes. Come back up. And this time we're going to take our left hand all the way up. We're just going to reach to that right knee. This is a subtle twist. let it go. Bring it to the center. Bring up that other hand, your right hand. Take it to your left knee. Let's do another subtle twist. Bring it to the center. Now let's take our bodies, switch positions. Sit up at the front of your mat, take your arms in front of you, and just slowly roll down your spine, one vertebrae at a time. Until you reach the ground, keep your legs bent. And kind of have your fingertips touching your heels. And once you get there, take a breath in and lift up your hips and your bum and stay there for a moment. And come back down. And take your time to lift back up. Come back down. We're just going to take one more of these. And then come all the way down. We're going to hug in our knees. We want to move a little side to side. And then we're going to take the time to just rotate both of those legs in a circle, just to really open up those hips. Give those hips a little bit of love. And now reverse it. Go the other way. That should feel really juicy for your hips. Let's do it one last time. Bring in those legs. Hug yourself one more time because you love yourself. Open up. Open up your legs slightly and hold on to, bring your hands to the bottoms of your feet and just open up like you're a baby. You're a happy baby. And just embrace this hip opening, relaxing pose. If you want to find stillness in this pose, go ahead. If not, just move back and forth to give yourself a nice little back massage. When you're ready, bring it back in. Hug yourself once more. Bring your legs all the way back down into our first position. This is going to be the interesting part. We're going to just take our right hip subtly to the more right of our mat. We're going to bring in our right leg. We're going to straighten that left leg. And then we're going to take the time to twist. I'm going to take that right leg to that left side. I'm going to twist. And if you want, you can look up or you can look at your right hand. Other than that, just enjoy this loving twist. Just go ahead and slowly bring it back in. Bring in that right leg and hug it as much as you can. Bend that right leg back to position 1. Bring your hips back to the center. And then we're going to take it to the left side. So let's go ahead and move that left hip more towards the left of your mat. Take down that right leg. Really embrace that left leg coming in. And we're just going to turn around and twist. And if you can't look at your opposite arm, that is totally fine. There's nothing wrong with looking up, looking at an angle. Remember, this is your practice. Do whatever makes you feel good. And just let's take the time to bring it back in. Bring your legs back out. And just open up your legs into that butterfly. And just stay with your eyes closed. And give me one moment. You guys, be quiet. Really embrace that butterfly. Opening up all of your hips. And now we're going to go into Savasana, where it's corpse pose. So let go of that opening of the butterfly. Just let your whole body lay there and relax. Keep your eyes closed. Let's flutter our eyes back open. Let's come to the side. Let's come to crisscross applesauce. Bring our hands all the way up. Down to your heart. And namaste. Thank you guys so much for joining this practice today. Happy Juneteenth to everybody. I hope that you guys, after this practice, you either take a nap or you decide to go out to a barbecue, go see some friends, really just have a fantastic day. I can't wait to see you guys again.
Whew, thank you, Ms. Zari. It's so wild that I haven't seen you in a year. I met you a year ago, right before lockdown started. And just thank you for being a part of this and sharing your practice with us. I would love to repost this on our Instagram as well and tag you there. And I know I'll be looking back at this video for this practice. So please, for those of you watching, remember to tip Zari. Their Venmo is Zar Alicia. You can reach out to their Instagram at WYD Zari, what you doing, Zari. And she also has a YouTube channel as well that you can tap into. So any final words, Zari, before I wrap up the event?
Honestly, just go on YouTube and do my yoga. Hit me up on either one of my Instagrams. And if you're like, hey Z, I need a class, I got you. There's no problem. Thank you guys so much for having me.
Of course. Thank you. Bye, Queen. So I'm just going to wrap up our event here. Really to say how appreciative I am of today, of everyone who participated as a panelist, as performers who participated, those of you who are participating in the comments as well. I love just checking back and seeing what people were saying as the event was going on. You know, Juneteenth is a celebration about the liberation of slaves in Texas, who were liberated 2 years after, 2.5, I believe, years after the Emancipation Proclamation. So I hope this inspires you to not only liberate your physical body, but to also liberate your mind and really prioritize your mental health, but liberate your mind from the generational curses of slavery. And I'm not just saying this for Black people either. For our white allies, white folks who are listening, you also have to do the work to liberate your mind from the generational curse of your family from slavery. And I invite you all to do the work. I have to shout out someone very, very special and near and dear to my heart. But thank you, Ermine Nomir, my mother, the person who just gave me so much joy throughout my life and who has really helped me and talked to me about her mental health journey as well. I hope that you are proud of me, proud of Wellness Online, and proud of County Collectives, your organization, for putting this program on. So I love you. Just want to, shout out mom. Gotta shout out mom. And lastly, please tap into Wellness Online at Wellness Online, WON, on Instagram. And then you can tap into the County Collectives on Facebook. Wellness Online hosts group share every other week. So go to our Instagram to see when those are scheduled. And then we also have various events like these. We also have a Discord now, not a Facebook page anymore. So that way we can really have our community in real time. So join our Discord. Link is in our bio on Instagram. We also have game nights in Discord as well, and I get real competitive. But thank you everyone for joining us for this virtual celebration of Juneteenth. Have a wonderful day.